Kia ora koutou, hello everybody and welcome to Frogs on Friday. Before I start, a quick shout out to Kirsty Hennigan who did a great job of running the show for me last week. But let's get into today's. So today in Mahi Media we are talking about the rise of counter offers. We'll go through the hot jobs of the week, and I'm joined by Chitra from our Wellington team to give some advice on how job seekers it must be employees would handle counter offers when they come about. And as always, we'll finish off with the social media polls. So let's jump straight into Mahi Media. All right, so this week there's been a lot of interest in the massive rise in counter offers in the last 12 months. So let's start off, we'll do things a little bit differently and start off with a quick clip of one of the radio interviews this week looking at this issue.
Bidding wars and so-called fake resignations are dominating a competitive job market, according to a survey of more than 1,000 businesses with 500,000 workers. The market report by Frog Recruitment found that 79% of hiring managers have been forced to make more counter offers in the past 12 months compared to the previous year. The top incentives for reeling back in a resigning worker: more money, surprise, surprise, and a change of title. Well, joining us now is Shannon Barlow from Frog Recruitment. Hi, Shannon. So are workers playing chicken with their bosses?
Oh, they are. There is a little bit of funny business going on, but who can blame them? We've had probably the last year telling employees and job seekers that if ever there's a time to go for better conditions or more pay, that it's now. So they're really just doing what's right for them.
So I suppose it's nothing new, the threat of resignation, unless a worker gets more incentives to stay on. But what is different in terms of the number of people doing it?
Yeah, I think it's the other end. So hiring managers or businesses are more willing to play that game as well. So it's really a result of an extremely tight candidate market. So businesses can't afford to lose the good talent that they already have. So they're going to fight even harder than usual to retain staff.
So, Shannon, is there a formula to work out how much that costs to lose a staff member? Because, I mean, you got advertising, lost productivity, time to get the next person up to speed. Is there any kind of estimate for how much that costs you?
Well, we'd like to say that it kind of correlates to the fees that you pay a recruiter for all that goes into that. But you're right, all of those things, and it's all the hidden costs that you don't think of. So your time away from your normal role when it's involved in recruitment or training up new staff, when you eventually manage to get some, that all goes into those costs.
What does it mean in terms of opening up the floodgates when other employees see that the threat of departure equals more money and better conditions?
Yeah, it's a really tricky one for employers. My advice would be to avoid that situation is to really get in front of it in the first place. So find out what is important to your staff and show they're valued before it's too late. So that you don't need to get into these situations, and you can better plan things like if it is salary is a major factor, which it's likely to be, so that you can plan in advance what that's going to look like across the whole group or the team. So you're looking at those things like pay parity rather than having to react to an individual situation and then all the flow-on effects of that.
Thanks for your time, Shannon. That's Shannon Barlow from Frog Recruitment there.
Okay, now that may have been a mistake. I know it's always terrible listening to your own voice, and I hadn't actually listened to the whole interview. So I don't know, maybe we won't be doing that next time. So just as I gave some advice for employers, I'm going to switch it around this time and give some advice for employees. And again, it's similar. I try to avoid the situation of the counteroffer in the first place. So what I mean by that is if you're unhappy with your situation, or if you think, right, well, now's the time to go after better benefits, let your employer know that. If you're really transparent with your reasons for considering a move, that's going to be much better and enable you to have an open discussion in advance rather than serving up an ultimatum. Because even if you do get what you want from in those discussions, it's likely to leave a bad taste in the mouth of your manager and colleagues, and it might be a short-term gain, but consequences down the road from there. So just something to consider, and always best to have a chat and just let them know what's missing in your role or career. Okay, so if there is something missing, you may want to consider some of the hot jobs that we have this week. So let's take a look. Okay, so first up, we have a temporary role based in Auckland for an HR coordinator. This one paying a decent rate, so 32 to 35, depending on experience. And it's working across 5 different businesses across Australia and New Zealand. So it sounds like a meaty role to be able to sink your teeth into here. If you have experience with an HR system implementation or data management systems work, is going to be a real advantage for this role. If you're interested in this or know someone who may be, please get in touch with Kirsty Hennigan from our Auckland team. Okay, and then the permanent role, again, this one's based in Auckland as well. So an acquisition marketing executive. So for this one, looks like refining messages and channels and really getting involved in individual giving strategies. So it looks like it's working with within the not-for-profit or charity space. And if you have previous experience, so managing above the line campaigns, again, that's going to be a real advantage for this role. If you want to find out more, please get in touch with Julia Yen in our Auckland team. Okay, so as always, we'd love for you to stay in New Zealand. But if you do have plans to hop across the ditch to Australia or even further afield to the UK, here's a sample of some of the jobs that we have available across those areas. So first up, an administrator role. This one's in the southeast of London. And again, if you are interested in this or want to get in touch with the team, get in touch with Hannah Scanlon in our London team. Okay, and let's have a look at what the Aussies have to offer.
experienced legal secretary with a passion for conveyancing and litigation and looking for a hands-on role that combines both practices. I'm working on a rare opportunity for a legal secretary to join the conveyancing and litigation practice group of a national firm in their Newcastle office. This national firm have an excellent reputation, both professionally and in their appreciation for their employees. Not only do they boast a multinational clientele, but a hybrid working policy that recognises the importance of work-life balance. With an immediate start, you will provide integral administration and matter management support to the conveyancing department and a team of 4 fee earners in the growing property litigation team. Your previous conveyancing experience and technical know-how will see you excel in this position and allow you to have a hands-on approach to managing settlements end-to-end while also preparing court documents and briefs for the litigation practice. Your key duties in the role will include diary and email management, opening and closing of matters, liaising with clients and drafting correspondence, preparing briefs and documents for court, managing settlements end-to-end through PEXA, travel management, preparing settlement figures, and completing property searches as well as monthly billing. If you are a high-performing legal secretary and looking for an environment that supports your work-life balance, then this could be your next role. Get in touch on the details below. Thanks.
All right, so my advice on counter offers was to try to avoid them in the first place and kind of prepare for that in advance. But sometimes it doesn't always happen when you put your resignation through. So luckily we've got Chitra here to give some advice on what to do if you do get into that situation.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks for having me. Well, when considering resignation and potential of counter offers, it's important to approach the situation with careful consideration. So I would suggest 3 tips to help candidates navigate the scenario. Firstly, reflect on your reasons for leaving. Before you resign, assess your motivations for seeking a new opportunity. You need to determine if the counteroffer addresses the underlying issues that prompted your decision. Remember, money isn't everything. Secondly, evaluate the counteroffer objectively. Don't just ignore it. Consider whether the counteroffer aligns with your long-term career goals and take into account things like compensation, benefits, and other relevant factors. And lastly, communicate professionally. Always maintain open and honest communication with both your current employer and the potential new employer. If you decide to take the original offer, express gratitude for the counter offer while respectfully explaining your decision to move forward with your plans and vice versa.
Yeah, really important not to burn your bridges, because you never know, what happens in the future, and it wouldn't be the first time that someone ends up coming back to a previous employer or wants to do so. So, yeah, important to maintain that professionalism. I really like that point there as well, to remember why it was you were making the decision to make the move in the first place. And as you say, it's not always all about the money. And a lot of the time, if you just offered a higher salary, you need to think about, okay, well, if they valued me that much, why wasn't that offer there in the first place before I put the resignation through? And maybe it's other things that were also tipping the balance of making the move that are important. So, yeah, some really good advice there. Thanks, Chitra.
Thanks, Shannon.
All right. So that just leaves us to have a look at the polls. Okay, so last week we asked, how do you feel about your current salary? So satisfied, isn't in line with the market, or doesn't reflect. So quite an even spread with doesn't reflect the workload coming through on top. And that kind of aligns with I guess the situation in the market where a lot of businesses are still understaffed. So you might be taking on extra responsibilities on top of your own role, as well as, we're still looking for that drive to keep up with living costs, and perhaps not everybody has got to that point yet or been successful in securing that salary increase. So interesting to see there, but yeah, it was a bit of an even spread. Let's see what we've got this week. And of course, we're still talking about counteroffers. So for those of you who did resign within the last 6 months or so, really interested to see if you received a counter offer. And always feel free to put in the comments as well. We'd love to hear more about that in your experience and which way it tipped you. That is it for today. Have a fabulous long weekend, and we'll be back the same time next week. Ka kite anō.